experience. St Helens are the Women's Super League champions. The most amazing day for the Leeds Rhinos. Warrington dominating. Great try for the Robins. Huddersfield Giants take the points home. It's Vincent! It's a poor lad. That is one sensational try. 3 in a row. The Saints, the 3-peat is achieved. An 8th grand final win for the Red Bee.
Hello there, just 3 rounds of a regular season left of a Betfred Super League, and then we have a playoffs. And in exactly a month's time, we're at the Theatre of Dreams.
Celebrate 25 years of grand final glory.
Robinson, what a try!
The culmination of the Betfred Super League season. At the iconic Old Trafford. Bring on the atmosphere. Bring on breathtaking moments. Bring on history. Betfred Super League Grand Final. Bring it on.
And it's a huge few days for the Betfred Super League. St Helens can win the league leaders trophy. We can get relegation confirmed. We might know more of the teams in the playoff. We know 3 are definitely in the playoffs. And these 2 gentlemen in the studio know all about winning the grand final. It's Amor and Paul Sculthorpe. What a 7 days for the Betfred Super League with a double header as well. Strange time for a double header, but they've got to get on with it, haven't they?
It is a strange time. I mean, normally this part of the season you pretty much know who's in the playoffs or who's been relegated, who can't do any better in the league, but it's certainly still all to play for, isn't it? And with a double header in there as well, you know, where coaches maybe, you know, rest players for games that they know are coming up, probably can't afford to do that. So there's some big games, and really looking forward to a big weekend.
Carl, obviously announced today that you are leaving Warrington and you're going to be at Widnes Vikings next season, but you're still at Warrington right now. Look, it's tough for the coaches, isn't it? A double header, especially if you're in the playoff mix.
Yeah, without doubt, you know, and there's a lot of those teams in there, isn't there? You know, Scully mentioned about coaches rest and rotating, but there's a lot of those sides, your Salfords, Castlefords, Leeds. Well, they can't afford to rest and rotate people, can they? Because such is what, you know, that one of those sides could effectively drop out of the playoffs, and that'd be catastrophic.
Castleford versus
exactly, you know, what a clash that's going to be as well. So look, there's plenty still left to play for, plenty still to decide, and I think you hit the nail on the head. The next 7 days of Betfred Rugby is going to be fantastic. Yes,
we've got a double header in the Betfred Super League. Before we look ahead to that, let's just look back at round 24 very, very quickly. Huddersfield Giants versus Cass. Huddersfield Giants came out top 36-10. So it's Huddersfield's first playoff spot in 7 years. This was Thursday night. It was 10-all after 52 minutes, and Huddersfield kicked on.
Yeah, they've had a great year, haven't they, Huddersfield? You know, Ian Watson's done a great job. And I think you can just see the confidence in this Huddersfield side this year, and then, you know, securing the playoff spot, 3rd place. You know, with a few weeks to spare, they're a team to watch out for going into the business end.
Yeah, they certainly are. Ian Watson got them to a Challenge Cup final, and now the first playoffs in 7 years.
Yeah, brilliant. You know, look at the job he did at Salford. You know, he had a bit of a sketchy, scratchy last year, didn't he? You know, obviously I think they finished round about 9th, but that was always going to take time with a new coach coming in. But he showed the whole competition once again what he can do. If given the time, he's certainly got a lot more spending power over at Huddersfield Giants as well. But you know, their season isn't finished locked in at 3rd. You know, with that Saints and Wigan game, you know, there's opportunity that they might even climb higher and get a
home tie.
Absolutely. So there's, again, it's just another scenario that could be played out before the end of the year.
There was loads of games on Friday night. Let's start with St Helens. 100% record at home. Yeah. Jack Wellesby again, just superb.
Yeah, Jack was it was good, wasn't he? You know, creating some great plays out wide. You know, I thought it was a pretty much immaculate first half from Saints, and then probably that middle period of the second half just switched off a bit. And I think when you're so far in front, fair credit to UKI, you know, they come up with some exceptional plays. Some crazy plays, you know what they had no pressure against them, and you know, pulled a few tries back, but then, you know, Saints kicked on and finished strongly.
You've obviously played with Jack. How good is he?
Oh, look, I've said on this show many a times, I think he's he's one of the most exciting prospects that we've had for some time in Super League, and as long as he's tied in now with St Helens, which is great for the game over here as well. But I just think there's so many things that Jack does. He creates tries with kicks, his try assists are right up there, his meters, of all the metrics that get measured in the game, he sits pretty much in the top 1, 2 or 3 at Saints. So phenomenal talent.
He's just a natural player, isn't he?
Yeah.
What you want to do with Jack, I think, as a coach, you don't want to give him too much. You want to say, play what's in front of you. He can execute all the plays, like Kyle said. Be it a kick, be it a pass, be it a run. And what I think, he's playing in the halves at the moment. We know he's a fullback, but he's got the ability to find that match-winning pass. And you just want him to play what's in front of him.
I think the interesting thing as well, looking forward to the World Cup, is what is his position in that England side. But for me, he just has to play. You have to find a way into that 17 for him. Where? Well, that's Sean Wayne's headache.
I think that's part of the thing for England. What you've got to do to win this World Cup, you've got to get your best 17 players on the field, and it's got to be your best 17. They might not be in the right position. But if we've somebody strong enough, like a Wellesby, like a Tompkins, who are both vying for that same fullback spot, for me, you've got to have them both in there.
Leeds 24-18 against Warrington. That's 5 wins on the bounce for Leeds. What a job Ryan Smith is doing.
Yeah, look, without doubt, he's the way he's got them attacking has been brilliant. I think there was a stat floating around a couple of weeks back that since he's took over, no side scored more points than the Rhinos. So he's obviously got his ideas are set there now. The players are all on board, and he's got that excitement about they're chasing something again now. Where 2 months ago they were almost looking around of a horror show of a season for them, but there's something there for them. And just on that game, it was 24-6 at half time. They got off to a great start.
They ended up grounding it out in the end, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and that's a side that's almost getting ready for playoffs. If you can, those playoff games, they're not all big scorelines, are they? Sometimes you've got to be able to do the tough stuff in the heat of battle, and I think I thought Warrington fantastic second half. Really got the game going, but just too much again.
And obviously news out of Warrington today, 6 players leaving, including yourself, Carl. Jack Hughes, Gareth Widdop. Look, this is Darryl Powell. He's starting a rebuilding job for next season, isn't he?
Yeah, he was always going to do that. 14 players off contract at the start of the year is very difficult. Look, Darryl, that wasn't Darryl's doing, that was the club's doing. They obviously seen this as a transition year. The results have gone, horribly at some times, through that year, and the club has stuck with him. He's able to get players in that he wants to get in, and I think only then next year can Darryl really be judged, I think, on his coaching credentials, because there's no doubt about it. He's a fantastic coach, a fantastic man as well. But the jury will be out for him early next year, I think.
Hull 18, Wakefield 26. That's 3 out of the last 4 for Wakefield. And obviously a huge step towards safety.
Massive games, wasn't it, for Wakefield, obviously, with that relegation battle down with Warrington and Toulouse. Wakefield have shown on the day, what they're capable of, just not consistently enough. But Hull FC, just a dreadful year. I'm sure they can't wait till that final game's over, because I think last week there were 3 games in the last 7 that they've had 60 points put past them. That is just not acceptable. And you see some of the tries that are posted past Hull FC, and it just looks like a lack of effort, lack of commitment from players. And we talk about coaches and how much coaches take the responsibility. There's got to be some responsibility with the players who are missing these tackles and dropping these balls, because it's not good enough at this level.
Wigan 52, Toulouse 6. That was Bevan French's 4th hat-trick of the season.
Yeah, he's incredible to watch. Him and Jay Field. The one guy I feel sorry for at Wigan is poor Liam Marshall, a fantastic player. He never gets a mention, does he? He scores loads of tries, does great work out of backfield, but it seemed to be those two that steal the show every single week. And another hat-trick for him. What a player. We're lucky to have him in the competition.
I think it's the way they work together. I think they've got a real bond together now with the way they attack and the attacking twos, that when you're such a threat, defenders have got to commit to one or the other, and it's opening spaces for them both. And you see how many times that one of them goes through and the other's in support. It's there's no substitution for blistering pace.
Well, what you have there is you have got 2 genuine match winners in your side, whether it's an offload or the player that you've been speaking about, Scully, they move the ball, and through the sheer pace of them, they make defenders panic and come up with wrong reads. And they've got, like I said, they've got 2 genuine superstars of the game.
But the performance of round 24 is Catalans 14, Salford 46. Brodie Croft superb, Salford are in the playoffs at the moment as well. That is fantastic from Salford.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Look, I think what they've got Salford at the moment, they've got the best half in the competition for me in Brodie Croft. I think for a man of steel shout, he's got to be right up there. You know, you talk about a player that has impact on games. He's at the heartbeat of every single thing in that side. And what a credit and a job that Paul Rowley's done as well. You know, I just think that the way Salford playing, anyone who's going to come up against Salford in the playoffs, well, they're not going to be 100% confident because they've got some play in them.
Salford turning on at the right time.
Yeah, they are, and like Carl just said, I think a lot comes through Brodie Croft. What I like in a good halfback is they've got to be a running threat, and he's a runner of the ball. But for me, Salford just looks like a happy camp at the moment. Obviously, they look like everybody's enjoying themselves. I speak to Ian Blease, who's a good pal of mine, and you see Bleasy on like social media, and it just looks like a real tight-knit community at Salford at the moment. And when you've got good players who are playing well and they're playing with confidence, they're certainly on attack. They've got some attacking flair, and to put 40 points past the Catalan Dragons as well shows that they're in great form coming up to the right end of the season, and I've got them in the 6.
Right, well, let's talk about the 6 then. Let's look at the top of the table. So we know the 3 that are definitely in the playoffs. St Helens are obviously definitely in the playoffs, and they can win the League Leaders' Shield at Wigan on Friday night. And Wigan are in the playoffs. Huddersfield are in the playoffs as well. So who joins them? I know in theory they could be joined by Hull KR and Hull FC, but unlikely. So it's basically, I would suggest, Leeds, Salford and Castleford going for 2 places.
Yeah, it's. I think Leeds will be in there. I think on current form and the playing roster that they've got, I think that'll be a big game. Obviously, the Salford v Castleford game next week. That's a massive one because I think both teams will win this weekend. Salford play Hull FC and Castleford play Warrington, who are not really playing for anything other than pride at the moment.
So we know 3 are definitely in the playoffs. Who's going to join them, Carl?
Look, I think that table, what you see is what you're going to get. I think I do. I think the way Salford are playing, I think there's too much confidence, too much flair there. I think Castleford, Lee Radford, he's mentioned a number of times that he's down on troops. He's lost an awful lot of middles. He's got back rowers playing in the middle. They may get Liam Watts back. In fact, they get Liam Watts back this week. They may get Nathan Massey in there, which would be a huge boost for them. But I just think that the way the Rhinos and Salford are playing, I think them 2 are almost a shooting. But we'll find out come Bank Holiday Monday.
And it's a double header as well. We'll talk about the fixtures in detail in a moment. But it's a massive weekend in the Betfred Women's Super League. It's the final round, and 3 teams can still win the League Leaders' Shield. And we're going to stream 2 of them at 1 o'clock on Sunday. It's Leeds versus York, so coverage starts at 12:45. If York win, they'll win the League Leaders' Shield. Leeds can still win it, and St Helens can still win it as well. And then we'll have the semi-finals live on Sky and the grand final live on Sky. You're working on this on Sunday, Carl.
Yeah.
It's a massive game with 3 teams still able to win the League Leaders' Shield.
Well, look, this is what everybody involved in rugby league would have wanted. The competition's got to a stage now where we've got 3 genuine teams, not just 1 or 2. And the more we can get that, and the more we can keep building that, these girls, they'll end up with a competition within their own right that's that's going to be more marketable. More fans are going to want to get involved in it because the quality on the pitch is improving. So massive game. You've mentioned there all 3 sides can still win it. So look, it'll be huge. It'll be huge this weekend, and I can't wait to go and work on it as well.
The grand finals at Saints as well, and it's just brilliant, the profile of women's games game.
It is. It's fantastic, isn't it? Women's sport as a whole at the moment. Obviously after the football as well, but the rugby league girls are doing such a great job and promoting our sport. And as you said then, a lot. That's what we want to see, a stronger competition throughout, which will improve the performances of the girls and the strength of the women's game throughout.
And it's World Cup year as well. Keep your eyes on the channel the next few days because we'll get the latest episode of a Women's Rugby League show exclusive to Sportsman Rugby League.
You're watching Sportsman Rugby League. Subscribe for exclusive content.
And it's also going to be the home of Rugby League in 2023 as well. Let's talk about round 25, which is tonight and Thursday. We will touch on round 26 because it's a double header just before the playoffs are starting as well. So round 25 kicks off tonight. Leeds versus Huddersfield. Obviously, huge game for Leeds. They're in their playoff places at the moment, and Huddersfield will want that second spot as well, because then they get a home tie. Carl, this is a huge game on Sky tonight.
It is. It's a huge game for both, and I think it's going to be it is going to be a playoff game before the playoffs, if you like. You know, both sides are still wanting to. The Rhinos, they have to win in order to keep the pressure on other people, and like what you've mentioned there with Huddersfield, you know, they'll be chasing down that. You would imagine if Leeds Rhinos beat Huddersfield tonight, they finish where they finished, don't they? You know, so look, there's a lot there. Everyone's just wanting to hit the right straps before this final run-in. So there's so much to play for.
I think Leeds fans now are rocking up with a bit of expectancy, aren't they? 5 on the bounce.
Yeah, you know, the Leeds fans are a bit confident, the players are confident going into it. I think it's a massive game, and certainly being at Headingley as well. You know, it'll be interesting to see the way Ian Watson, you know, targets this game. They are in the playoffs, they're confirmed third at worst. Does he rest players or does he go?
I think he wants it at home tie, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure he does. You know, he's got to rely.
Because he knows that Wigan have got
he's got to rely on Wigan,
tomorrow,
you know, getting beat by Saints and then slipping up again to get them points. But you know, it's a massive game, and Christian Wolfers said it this week. You know, you want to go into the playoffs on great form, you know, and use these next few games as stepping the bar up to getting that mentality of playoff football. So I think it's a massive game for both sides.
Live on Sky on Thursday night, it's Toulouse versus Catalans, the French derby. How do we see this?
Well, look, it'll certainly be exciting to watch if you're a Frenchman, wouldn't it? You know, but I think over here, I just think that, you know, Catalan, they're kind of just limping into the playoffs. The form hasn't been great. They've done enough earlier on in the season, obviously, you know, so they're not where they need to be. And for Toulouse, well, they get a free shot, don't they, the big brother in Catalan. So, yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And for me, I would have liked to see this exact fixture played at the start of the year. I'd like to see Catalan playing in Toulouse when they first came up. But obviously, look, the way the fixtures have been put out, it is how it is. So, be interesting though.
Well, they've made a good fist of it, Toulouse, haven't they? They've done a hell of a lot better than a lot of people thought.
Yes. Yeah, they have. I think they've been fantastic, and it's always tough coming into your first year. You know, your recruitment policy of the year before, when nobody knows what's going to happen the following year. You know, to try and tie players up on a longer term deal and get better players there. I think they've made a real fist of it, and you know, will they get any help from their fellow Frenchmen this week? I'm not sure. You know, Catalan, as you said, coming into it, not on the best of form. You know, they've lost 5 of the last 7, never mind the last 2. You know, so they're in poor form at the moment. They need to turn that around before going into these playoffs. But it won't be easy because Toulouse, like you said, they've nothing to lose, and you know, they need to win to have a chance of staying in Super League.
Well, let's get a view from France and hear from Steve Brady from Catalans Media.
The first time a Super League derby has taken place in Toulouse. Of course, earlier this season it took place in Perpignan, and the game itself was a bit of a damp squib, to be honest. Both teams cancelled each other out. A little bit of nerves about it being a very first derby. This one will be different. Now, we all know Toulouse are on the verge of relegation, so they've got nothing to play for other than this game. They want to showcase themselves to the French public, because the game will be shown live on beIN Sports all over France. So it's important that they go out. They're going down for a season, they tell me, hopefully straight back again. And they're going to regroup and regather. But this will be the showcase for them. They haven't been on TV much this year. They couldn't get a TV deal with the short space of time from promotion to elevation to Super League. They're confident that if they do get back in a year's time, that will be in place, and more news coming about that very soon. But yeah, there is a buzz about the derby. There really is. It's a very sporty city, Toulouse. As we all know, the rugby union team are the kings of Europe, and football teams have gone to the top division again. They want to see a winning team, and funny enough, I have a funny feeling they're going to beat Catalans on Thursday, the way Catalans unfortunately are playing at the moment. And even though those 2 points won't really matter much in the scheme of things for Toulouse, it will be. The city wants to see a winning team, and if they can see that the rugby league team can beat the rugby league team, the famous Catalan rugby league team of Perpignan, I think that would give them an awful boot, a huge boost with the public of Toulouse. So fingers crossed.
There's the review from France. So Toulouse versus Catalans live on Sky. Also on Thursday night, we've got Wakefield versus Hull KR, and obviously Wakefield's position being greatly improved of late.
Yeah, obviously some good wins recently. Wakefield, obviously the big win against Hull FC last week. And they're just playing for survival, aren't they, at the moment? They look pretty strong, and I think this is a game they'll probably win as well. Hull KR have been inconsistent. They've had their own injuries. When you're talking about Danny Maguire pulling the boots out to cover positions because it might be required, Hull KR are struggling. So I just think the current form Wake you're in, I think they've probably got too much for Hull KR this weekend.
Salford versus Hull. I mean, this is a huge chance for Salford to cement a playoff spot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And Hull FC, we've spoken about them already. That, for me, the hard thing with Hull FC is that it's so many times they've been all packaging but had no product in it. They've got all the players and the names at the start of the year, and you actually kid yourself into thinking, right, maybe we'll see something, but it seems just time after time after time you end up talking about what a disappointing end to Hull FC season it is for them. So I do believe that Salford are riding the wave better than anyone in the moment in the competition, and I think they'll, I expect them to carry on winning. Yeah.
Brodie Croft has been superb, as the fellas said early on. Then if Salford do win at home against Hull, well, Warrington, Castleford. If Castleford win, it makes that game on Monday just huge.
Yeah, doesn't it just? That'd be a massive game, won't it? The Salford-Castleford game, if both teams do win. Cass, they've everything to play for. Bit inconsistent throughout the year. You never know what you're going to get with Cass, including last week's 36-10 defeat to Huddersfield. So it's a funny fun one for Warrington because they're not playing for anything other than pride and trying to finish the season, and going to next year on a bit more a positive note.
Yeah.
So I just think Warrington, they've still too much quality for what they've delivered.
Yeah, no, Scully's he's absolutely right. One thing that the playing group has spoken about this week is if anything out of this game, it's to send the home fans away. To send the home fans away with something because it's the last home game of the season for Warrington. Hopefully a good performance, a good win. While it doesn't paper over any cracks that we've had there this season, it can just send them away a little bit happier, ready for the next season.
And it doesn't get much bigger on Friday night, does it? First versus second, Wigan versus St Helens.
Wellesby might have got the try. Second try for amazing grace. This is unbelievable.
Right then, this is possibly a stupid question. How big is this game?
It's a massive game, isn't it? Biggest game of the season so far for these two. I think not so much of the points, because I don't think anything will change there. Obviously, Saints are going to win, one of the next 3 games anyway to secure the league leaders. But just on bragging rights going into the business end of the season, and you never want to lose a derby. Both teams are defeated at their own homes, so it's going to be enormous.
Yeah, sorry to any Wigan fans watching because it's a bit imbalanced in the studio.
I've not said who's going to win. I just said it'd be a massive game.
No, right, Carl. A chance to win the league leaders' shield.
Yeah.
At Wigan.
No, look, it's massive.
Is that what team talk done?
Well, yeah, possibly. It's just. Look, I don't think that the Wigan camp are going to want to allow that to happen, aren't they? You know what I mean? The Wigan fans would be mortified to see any trophy being lifted at their home ground, especially by the nearest rival Saints. But as a Saints player, you want to win every trophy you can. And look, I agree with Scully. I think Saints will win one of the last 3 games. I think the league leaders' shield is pretty much wrapped up. But I was thinking about this through the week, and I think it was during the COVID season we played Wigan in my time at Saints at home, and they physically dominated us 2 weeks before the grand final. Now, I honestly do believe that they played their ace card that day, and that gave us motivation heading into the final. And I think if their dominance and physicality, you know, if they hadn't have showed that, I don't think we would have possibly won that grand final in 2020. I think that allowed us to. So it's interesting how both sides approach this.
You had that Catalan defeat, didn't you? Magic Weekend, which then spurred you on, didn't it?
I just think it's interesting how both sets of teams approach this. Does Matty Peet play his ace card and really go after it, wind his players up? Of course, I think he does because it's a derby. But a convincing win for Wigan, could it hurt them in a couple of weeks' time? You know what I'm talking about.
It's kind of knowing what you're going to get.
But for Saints as well, they need to, because this is the last real intensity game they get. You know, they've played both Hull clubs and they've rolled them over, haven't they? They've got to play Wigan, then they've got Wakefield and Toulouse. It's not really ideal preparation going into a final. You want tough, competitive games. I just think there's a lot more to it than meets the eye this derby this Friday for what's to come later.
I think with two players coming back for Saints as well, Morgan Knowles and Curtis Sirinen as well, you're going to get that. You're going to get the physicality. You're going to get the intensity. I think them two don't know anything else. And there's a lot of talk, you know, whether it's media talk, you know, from the coaches, that there's absolutely no focus on the League Leaders Shield. It's about the process. It's about a good performance. It's about beating Wigan. You know, it's not about the results and the rewards on the back of just this one game, but it's about going into the playoffs, battle hardened and on good form.
But it'd be nice to win the League Leaders Shield at Wigan.
We know the players, and I think it's more of a focus for Wigan not to allow that than it is the Saints fans the Saints players to do that. I think it's more of a thing for the fans as well. The fans would love it, wouldn't they? You know, parading the League Leaders Shield at the DW Stadium.
Right, it's hard to talk about round 26 because obviously massive implications before in round 25, but just a couple of games that could be absolutely huge on Monday. Castleford Tigers versus Salford, we mentioned that, and the Catalan Dragons versus Leeds. So round 26 could be.
Yeah, there's some massive games in there, and a lot of that could be determined off what happens, you know, this weekend. But it's great to see that, you know, there's very, very few dead rubbers, is there? You know, a lot of, be it the top or the bottom, there's everything to play for.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, injuries, suspensions, they're going to have a huge toll. I mean, you were speaking off air, Mark, earlier. I just think the implications that this sort of 3 games inside 10 days can have, you know, we're heading into the playoffs. Yeah. We're heading into the playoffs, which is what our showcase is about, the game at the playoffs, the highest quality team.
And let's be honest, if you pick up some injuries, you're going to be critical of it.
Exactly.
Aren't you?
So to look at the squad that Salford got, you know, they haven't got the luxury of a 35, 36-man squad. No. You know, they're going to have to roll
a huge game tomorrow night and then a huge game on Monday.
And they're going to have to roll everybody out. Look, and I always think with the Easter weekends, it's not the actual weekend itself, it's the week after where you start getting a bit leggy and a bit mentally a bit tired. So it's going to be interesting who manages it, what tactics are shown, you know, squad rotation, etc. There's so much.
I think that's the interesting thing, because we talked about it for 30 years about the impact on players over the Easter period, you know, at the back end of the season. But early on in April, you can rotate your squads because you can make up points throughout the year, or you know, work your squad to peak at the right time.
Far tougher,
this is the business end, and this can determine your season. You know, in these next 2 weeks, whether you make a playoff, whether you get relegated, whether you win the league. So it's enormous on how players get through it, and 2, how coaches manage it.
But no coach wants to start putting young kids in at this stage of the season, do they? You want your best players operating at the best levels that they can, ready for the most intense and rewarding part of the year. And I just think the fixture schedule is crazy this year. It is crazy.
And we've got a World Cup as well. We're running out of time. It's time for Try of the Week.
Welcome to Try of the Week. I'm Ross Fiddies, and here are this week's contenders. Try number 1, it's Wigan versus Toulouse. Jay Field with the ball, out to Bevan French, who goes for the grubber kick. He's out of the field of play here, but back in the field of play, and he crosses over for his first of 3 tries. Try number 2, and it's Salford away at Catalan. Brodie Croft perfecting the art of the dummy pass not once, but twice. He breaks through the line and charges down the field of play. He's got an army of support, and he times the pass perfectly to Ryan Briley, who touches down for Salford. To Hull for try number 3, Wakefield hoping to open the scores. They're on the attack here and it's out to Jowett, to Murphy on the edge, and look at the acrobatics on that. Hang on, let's take a look at that again. Jowett with the pass out to Murphy. He leaps into the air, positions himself perfectly, and what a finish from Murphy. Try number 4, and it's a try of the week regular. We're up to Barrow with Featherstone piling on the pressure. Craig Hall with the looping pass, but look at this, it's into the arms of the intercept king, T. Ritson. He's like a runaway train for the Raiders, and Tom Lynham, well, he does his best to catch up, but Ritson, he's in his element, and he puts Barrow into the lead. To League One for try number 5, and it's the Midland Hurricanes on the road at the West Wales Raiders. The Hurricanes storming the way through the defence and looking for the offload. He does well to get the ball away, and the Hurricanes come charging again. Back on the inside now to Walton with the grubber kick, and it's Adam Reed out on the edge who comes flying in to dive over on his debut. And finally, try number 6, and we stick with League One. It's an intercept from Rodden for North Wales Crusaders. Green tugging at the shirt for Rochdale, but it's offloaded to Breers. He's away now, but Jai Hitchcox is fast on his tail and does well to stop him, but it's offloaded again. This time to Matt Reed, who completes a team effort to touchdown for the Welsh. 6 tries, but only 1 winner. Head to the R-League app now to vote for your favourite.
Yeah, well done to Lewis Murphy. That was a hat-trick for him as well. So well done. Right. It's quite simply a huge 6 days in the Betfred Super League. We know 3 teams in the playoffs. By the end of this on Monday, we'll probably know who's won the League Leaders' Shield, and we'll probably know who's been relegated as well. Obviously, it does look like Toulouse, unfortunately. We should have a clear idea who's going to be in the playoffs.
Yes,
massive 6 days.
Without doubt, you know, we've mentioned it over the last 45 minutes of all the different scenarios and everybody where they're at in the season and what it's going to mean to each individual club. So, you know, the fan in me says that this is probably the most exciting end to a season that we've had for a long time, given that the fact that we still don't know
going into the playoffs,
where
definitely.
the runners and riders are sitting. So, yeah, I think it's been a fantastic year.
Last words, Gully.
Yeah, looking forward to it. You know, it's going to be a mad. As you say, it's a big ask of the players. You know, a double header this so late on in the season, but some great games and everything to play for. We're really looking forward to it.
Yep, thanks for coming in, gents. Really appreciate it. So huge 6 days in the Betfred Super League, and don't forget we are showing in the Women's Super League Leeds versus York on Sunday. That's a massive game as well. Enjoy the end of the season. We're getting towards the business end. Enjoy it.
Celebrate 25 years of grand final glory.
Robinson, what a try!
The culmination of the Betfred Super League season. At the iconic Old Trafford. Bring on the atmosphere. Bring on breathtaking moments. Bring on history. Betfred Super League Grand Final. Bring it on.